Today, we are soaring into the heart of the aviation sector to unravel the success story behind Delta Airlines' remarkable quarter. Let's get started. Welcome back, guys. Today, we are covering Delta Airlines, who has recently made headlines with a report of a record quarter. Start us off here. What do you guys think were the key factors contributing to this unprecedented success here?
Well, it's a couple of factors in play. There's normalization of the travel market after this huge event that we've just gotten through, but also Delta is the premier premium flight line, and they're working hard at optimization and efficiency. So they're being, and I think they said it in their own report, it's a time of normalization and optimization kind of coming together in sync.
Tired of guessing which stocks to ditch? MarketBeat's exclusive report, 20 Stocks to Sell Now, cuts through the noise. Uncover the truth behind Wall Street's ratings, as our list is curated from the stocks that top analysts consistently rate as hold or sell. Don't let your portfolio suffer. These 20 companies have been red flagged for a reason, so act now and safeguard your investments. This report is free, but only available for a limited time, so download today.
Yeah, Delta, one of the specific things I noticed, Thomas, in your article was that Delta was commenting that business travel is part of that normalization. They're seeing higher spending on business travel, which is a huge moneymaker for the airlines. And Delta also seeing a strong growth in international travel, which, as everybody knows, that's been very popular right now as consumers have been able to travel again.
Right. I think that was one of the very first things they said in their report, was just to point out that all three of these segments are firing on all cylinders. We've got retail travel, business, and international flights all really strong.
I'm curious to hear from our viewers. Just want to jump in with this quick comment down below. Let us know if Delta is your choice when you're traveling, or if you look to a different airline and why. Curious to see what people have to say there. But let's look ahead here. Delta is guiding for significant growth. Can you guys elaborate a little bit on maybe the specific strategies that are in place to achieve these targets that they have, and how might these initiatives impact the market?
Well, right, they're focusing on their core profit drivers and their core revenue drivers, which are those three segments we just talked about, but also premiumization. They're doing a lot of premium add-ons for their flights and services in the airports that are driving a lot of their revenue growth.
All right, well, let's move on to their financial health here. The report did highlight that Delta had solid cash flow, which is enabling debt reduction and, of course, capital return. How does the company kind of plan to balance their reinvestment in the business with shareholder returns?
I mean, right now they're trying to focus on investing in the business while improving the balance sheet, and improving the balance sheet plays into the forward outlook for shareholder returns. They took on a lot of debt during the pandemic. They're trying to pay it down. Their leverage ratio is down below 3x now. It's going to fall further this year. They're planning to pay down another $3 billion in debt. What this is going to do is raise their credit quality rating for the debt that they want to issue to investment grade. That's a huge bonus for the business, but also free up cash flow so they can pay the dividend. You know, they reinstated the dividend. It hasn't been brought back to its prior level, but they could do that within the next year or so, and that will be another big catalyst for the share price.
All right, well, analysts have now labeled Delta stock as a deep value. In your guys' perspective, Chris, Thomas, what has changed in the market's perception here, and how might Delta capitalize on this revised outlook?
I mean, what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, well, everybody's calling this a stock picker's market. And I think if investors really want to see a good example of that, Delta's a really good example of that. I was looking at something that said in one of the airline ETFs, I don't remember which one, Delta's like the largest single holding of that ETF, at like over 11% of the ETF is in Delta. And it really is it's the best stock in what's been kind of a bad neighborhood over the last few years. And Delta just keeps on, for all of the reasons Thomas said, they're the ones that continue to grow revenue and grow earnings in this period. And I think and now the dividend is starting to come back into play, which is, I think, the reason why analysts are getting so excited about it.
All right. What's interesting, and we talked about this before in previous videos and this morning, that Delta has been producing these kind of results for over a year. This
Right.
outlook is not just emerging now. The analysts have been bullish on this stock for a year. It has tried to achieve liftoff several times over the last 18
Yeah.
months and just failed to do it. Who knows why exactly? I mean, right now it's trading below the analyst's lowest target, so it should be moving higher, but yet it still isn't able to get above that resistance point. I think there's just some kind of a hang up in the market. Technical, it could just be some overhang of people that are trying to, trim their losses or whatever from before. But I think eventually this critical pivot where the market is now is going to fall, it's going to get broken down. We'll see a significant shift to the upside. And when that happens, there should be a good momentum play as new money floods into the market.
Chris, you had just mentioned the dividend briefly. I want to talk about that. The reinstatement and expected aggressive increases of Delta's dividend is definitely noteworthy. So tell us more about that, guys.
Thomas, you go ahead.
Right. I mean, the dividend, it's not that big right now, but we're
Right.
talking about like a 50 to 100% increase when they're able to do it. So when they do that, that's going to be a big sign of the company's health. It's will have been it will have completed its turnaround, its recovery from the pandemic, and it will open the door to the future of Delta, which is just a big blue chip, solid cash flow producing, investment grade quality debt dividend payer.
Yeah.
Now, Thomas, you are saying that Delta is undervalued. So what leads you to this? What are kind of the key indicators or metrics that the market is overlooking right now?
Well, trading at 7 times its earnings, with the leverage ratio that it has, the expectations for debt reduction, investment quality debt, and dividends, I think that it could easily trade at double its current valuation. And that just plays into the analyst sentiment. Analyst consensus is like 15 or 20% upside, I think. The low end of the range is like 5 or 6% upside. So this stock really should be moving higher. It just needs something to push it over that edge so that it can break past the resistance point and start advancing again.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I think there's.
mentioning,
I'm sorry,
go-
Lacey. Go ahead.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, mentioning that resistance, the potential resistance is at the $52 level. So what kind of main risks or challenges are facing Delta right now to kind of, they are staying at that critical turning point. So what now?
Well, I was
Chris,
just going to say, Lacey, I think one of the issues that might be impacting investor sentiment, maybe not analyst sentiment, is they're concerned about not so much what Delta reported this quarter, but what they're going to report next quarter and in the quarters to come. Delta affirmed their guidance, so that was good. I mean, they didn't lower their guidance for the year, but they didn't increase it either, which some investors were hoping for. And I think they didn't increase it because of fuel costs. We talked about it when we did their video on the CPI. Energy is the big story. That's going to hit jet fuel as much as it's going to hit diesel fuel, as much as it's going to hit the gasoline that we put in our cars. And I'm not sure if investors are confident that Delta is going to be able to keep up this rate as that starts to factor into their future earnings reports.
Right. They forecast solid demand for the summer and a good back half of the year, but there's this whole inflation, interest rate, FOMC thing hanging over the market. The market is expecting a broad economic shift in the back half of the year that is predicated on FOMC cutting interest rates. And right now, the CPI does not say that we're going to get a rate cut in the summer, and that's going to impact the back half outlook, including Delta. So like what Chris is saying, I think investors might really want to see that we're able to get into the summer and get past this next hiccup, which will be the FOMC telling us that we're not going to get a rate cut until the fall.
All right, guys. So looking beyond immediate financials here, where do you see Delta in the next 5 years?
Oh, higher for sure. Because within 5 years, interest rates will have cut, economic stability will have happened. We will have entered the next recovery phase of economic acceleration, and that should be a huge driver of growth and profits for Delta.
Yeah, I'm probably. I tend to agree with Thomas. I tend to be a little bit more cautious about it, but I tend to be more cautious about airline stocks in general. If I had a crystal ball and you could tell me what the political outlook was going to look like for the next 4 years as opposed to this 4 years, I might be a little bit more optimistic, because if I look at Delta over the last 5 years, they've never been able to get back up to their pre-pandemic high.
Yeah.
And as Thomas was saying, we don't really know why, but that area around $50, $52 has been a firm point of resistance even after this last earnings report. It should be moving higher. And I think for all of the reasons that Thomas said, in the next 5 years, you would expect that you're going to see a more, you're going to start seeing more normalization, if I will, with the economic data. You're going to see we're either going to adjust to the interest rates where they are, or the interest rates are going to be lower. So you would think that, yes, the outlook for Delta is higher. I'm just not quite as sure. But you're looking at a company like Delta that is committing to shareholder value, and that's a great reason to own the stock. Like I said, in a stock picker's market, this looks like one of the better airline stocks you can own, when you have a lot of other airline stocks that I wouldn't even be wanting to touch right now.
All right, well, great discussion today on the challenges and opportunities ahead for Delta Airlines. To our viewers, we hope this has offered you a deeper understanding of the aviation industry's dynamics and Delta's ambitious path forward. Stay tuned for more market insights right here at MarketBeat. Until next time, we'll talk soon.